Hey there, FlossTube. This is Cathy, the hands-on designer. It is, let's see, Thursday, June 27th. Whoa, where has June gone? Wanted to bring you a quick update and a little tutorial. You know, I was thinking about that this morning when my kids were little and they were home for the summer from school. You know, there was always that saying that people would say, oh, once you hit the 4th of July, summer just kind of, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for it to be July 4th next week. It's actually been kind of a nice June for us. We've been home all month, which hasn't happened in a very long time. A year ago, I think I've talked about it in previous videos. We had just come back from late May to early June. We'd come back from a trip overseas, and we'd gone to Iceland and to the Netherlands and to, well, Paris in France. And the Iceland was kind of a side trip. The Netherlands was a teaching trip. I was super excited to be able to teach in Roden at the Handwerk Boutique. Annemieka's the lovely shop owner there. And then also visit a little side, while we're over there, you know, a side trip to visit my sister-in-law and her lovely family in Paris. So no sooner did we come home, we kind of just, you know, got over the whole jet lag thing, and then we went to Seattle for the national Summer Special Olympics national games for my son. He was with the Iowa delegation. And we are not normally, like, you know, travelers like that, so it was exhausting. So we're actually very thankful to be home this year, but we're still very, very busy. So last week in the studio, I had 3 releases, and I never got a chance to film a video last week to share them with you. Of course, they're already kind of hitting the shops because they got shipped out, well, a week ago today, and I've started to see some they're posting on your social pages, and you're already tagging me, and I love it. But I kind of want to give you just maybe a little more of a look at some of them, and plus the second part is going to be a little bit of a tutorial on one of the pieces. So so here we go. Let's get going. All right, so with this one, when this one came out, I just feel like I should say, start your engines or needles or whatever. This is Harvest from the Chock Full series. We announced this in early May. Okay, this is one of the series that I do with Priscilla Blain. She draws the pictures. She's a chalk artist, and she draws the pictures, and then I take the picture and I make it into something you can cross stitch, because we both share a love of chalk art and have, you know, some things in common like that. So this was the first one in the series. We announced it in early May because Priscilla was actually gone at a retreat teaching, finishing on it, and this is my finishing, and so it just came out. Many shops are doing automatic shipments, they're doing clubs, they're doing, you know, all kinds of things. Mine is stitched on a 32 count slate, Fabrics by Stephanie. You need, for each of them, I think we're gonna do, you'll basically kind of like a heads up towards what's coming, is you'll probably always need 1 10-yard skein of the Gentle Art sampler thread, chalk thread, and then approximately, I think 4 colors of the Classic Colorworks, and 1 skein will be fine to do both pieces, because not only does it come with this, but you get a little small as well. And I've already seen people have finished this one, and that's just how quick it is, because this just, you know, got shipped out a week ago, and stitchers are already getting this one done. So you'll notice the ribbon, that's a hand-dyed twill tape from Lady Dot, and your shops can order that too for you. And then of course you'll see tucked in the top, I've got one in my little pillow as well, is a pin mini from the lovely ladies at Just Another Button Company. The jar is a brand new pin for the series, and each one in the series will have a new pin mini. So I have talked a lot about my finish. So far I've shown you how I covered the mat board back here, and then in another video, not this one but another one, I'll talk about how I attach the clip through it all and get that nice neat back on there. And so this one, just a lot of fun. And thank you for those are tagging and sharing and, you know, whatever, your pictures as you're stitching it. Like I said, I've already seen quite a few of you doing it, so woohoo. And of course, this is my little pillow. I did pleat the twill, and again, I'll kind of give more information. I took some pictures as I did it, so in future posts, I'll do more info on that as well. And I just love how the little pin mini just tucked in there. And so many different chalky light fabrics out there. Again, like I said, mine is on the 32 count slate, Fabrics by Stephanie. But you don't, I happen to just like stitching on it. I find it's a very enjoyable experience that way. But there are so many different chalk fabrics out there. So one day maybe we'll just talk about all the different options, but you know, you can do it on black, you can do it on 14 count, 28 count. That is one thing I will say. I've had a lot of questions. This is an 8x10 frame. This is finished on a 5x7 and mine's on 32 count. And originally, because some people said, well, if they want to do it on 28 count, what size would this be? Actually, the way it was designed and the way it was originally designed for the class, if a 5x7 would still work for it if you did it on a 28 or a 14 count. You'll be a little closer to the edge. You'll be about a 1/2 inch bigger. So instead of having about, you know, a 1/2 inch there, you're going to probably more have like a 1/4 inch there. But since it's got kind of what I call uneven edges, it's not real. I don't think it's going to affect the overall look of it. So, so I think you're kind of good with that. Mine is stretched and laced and then attached to this. We'll talk about that at another time. And then, so each one, they're going to be kind of seasonal. I was talking with Priscilla yesterday and I told her, I said, you know, every jar is going to kind of be different, because we've picked the colors out for the next one. And well, we're testing the color. We picked them out and then we have to test them to make sure they work on the fabric. So they're not finalized yet. So no secrets here. But each jar basically, it's going to be different. I start from scratch with each design, and I think you're going to really like the next one. So harvest, it's out. Woohoo! Then the other chart that I released is called Safe Harbor. All right, isn't that just, I love it. I love the finish. A little bit of background about this one. Initially, I did this sweet little design that was meant for Karen at So Much to Love, SEWMUCH 2, the number 2, and LUV. She does a bag of the month club, and each month that she does it, she invites designers to put in a little design. So everybody that was in the original bag club got this, but now I made it, you know, I had a lot of requests for it, so I made it part of the general release. Well, here's the secret. When I sent it to Karen as the chart, I kind of ran out of time to finish it, and I had something in my head like how I wanted it to look. So this is unusual. This is actually a first for me. I put something on the cover of one of my designs that I didn't finish. I sent this to Rita of Snowberry Needlearts, and she did the finishing. And we really didn't talk about this one. I have shown you some of my finishes by her before in other videos, but I said, well, I'm sort of thinking this, but I gave her carte blanche, and this is all Woolfelt, but look at the attention to detail with the little just, you know, even just to make the sand look like it's got dimension to it, and all the little all the little extra stitches. And then, okay, she said to me, she goes, well, I can scratch that off my bucket list. And I said, what? She goes, making a Woolfelt arrow to kind of, you know, go with. And that's what I love, is she really, I mean, the finishing is awesome. But to me, it enhances the piece. It doesn't like overwhelm the piece. So again, it's with Woolfelt. So no finishing instructions on this one, but if you want to have mine, if you want to have yours finished like mine, get a hold of Rita from Snowberry Needlearts. Check out her Facebook page. She just beautiful. She just has such a knack with finishing, and each one is a mini work of art. So I will put information on that below. So that's just a sweet little card. It's on I think it's on flax linen, probably 32 count. That's kind of like my go-to count. And then this is all DMC. So just a fun little project, a quick stitch. And I just love the saying, follow the stars and find your safe harbor. So now when I originally released it, I think I called it Follow the Stars, but for some reason I felt like it needed a little bit of a name change. So change the names to protect the innocent. So I renamed it Safe Harbor. So that was another release that went out last week. Then, whoa, okay, this one I peeked a little bit. I had it at Nashville. This was based on the artwork of Tammy, and oh my gosh, you guys, I have been saying her name Tutterow. Whoops, almost lost the camera there. Whoops, okay, I'm leaning on the table, but I've been saying her name wrong. Nobody ever said my name wrong, ha ha ha. So imagine I felt horrible when Tammy Tutterow. Okay, Tammy Tutterow Designs. I've been calling her Tammy Tutterow. Sorry. Anyway, so she does a lot of stamps, and she licenses a lot of her artwork in the like the scrapbooking community. So I loved her colors, and I loved the saying, of course, what I give with my hands, what I make with my hands, I give with my heart. And this one's kind of funny because she and I worked together on, we kind of went, I'd send an email and I wouldn't hear from her, and she'd send an email and she wouldn't hear from me. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, at some point this is going to happen. It may not happen for market. It may not, I don't know. And I knew when I kind of got to a point where I knew I was going to get it done, and I took it to market with me, and it was as a peek to show shops. And then I knew she was coming with the Just Under the Button Company ladies, and I just kind of wanted her to be surprised. And she walked into my room, and I had it sitting there on the checkout desk in my room at Market, and she just went, and then just burst into tears, and I went, yes, okay. I don't normally like to make people cry, but I was so, her reaction, she was not expecting it. So it was kind of cool. But this is what I'm going to do a little tutorial on. The reason why I took it to market is because, well, you'll notice this is a lot of Woolfelt here at the bottom. And a lot of this comes, there's an accessory pack that comes in the design. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how to do the Woolfelt. I don't want you to be scared by the Woolfelt. But that being said, part of why I took it to market was I polled shop owners and said, okay, what do you think? Do I need to do a cross-stitch version? And the resounding answer was, yes, you need to do a cross-stitch version. So do a cross-stitch version, I did. And I'm sorry, this is not finished. I'll do something with it. I just don't know what, but it's very sweet on its own. Just a fun little cross-stitch version. It's got the heart in there, and it's got all the little flowers. So you can stitch this if this design speaks to you, but if you're not into the Woolfelt as much, you would be able to put that on the bottom, and I still think it'll be just a gorgeous piece. So I want to show you just a little bit about the chart, which I left on the opposite side of the room. Oh, I think I might have one here. Okay. So this is the chart that you get when you buy this piece. And so I want to kind of explain a little bit just to show you how easy this is. Okay, you got your cover, got a nice big photo. Then it's 2 pages. Okay, the first page, and I'm going to go like this, boop, has the words. And then what you'll notice at the bottom is a heavy line. And it says A or B right there, because then the A is the cross-stitch version and the B is the Woolfelt version. So on your next page, I have 2 sections, and there's that same heavy line. Here's A, here's B. It's the same width. So literally you could actually cut this apart, tape it to the bottom of the first chart, and stitch seamlessly towards it. Now, I did make sure that the centering marks were in the right section, because that doesn't look quite like it's centered here, but it is centered based on that bottom row. So I've got, of course, all your instructions here for cross stitching, and then at the bottom I've got a little pattern for your heart, and then you need to just cross stitch parts of that bottom, and then you're gonna lay on top the Woolfelt. And so this one, pretty simple finish. Just a few little bits about this. Is a 32 count white Belfast. And oh, I did sulky threads on this one too. You all seem to really like the sulky threads I did on More Chocolate Bunnies, and I'm so happy because I love using the sulky threads. And so I did another sulky pack with these. There's only 6 threads in it this time. It's a beautiful springy palette, so I think they're going to be complement. If you bought the More Chocolate Bunnies, you're gonna get like a nice pretty collection. Chocolate Bunnies was kind of springy. This is spring but summer, and they will all go together and work together, and you're gonna have plenty of yardage. And I think, and they're really inexpensive. I think, you know, I think they retail for about $10 for 6 spools. And again, 1 ply as it comes off the spool on a 32 or a 16. I have seen where some people have stitched 1 ply on a 14 or a 28. I've also seen where they've used 2 ply and both look fine. Just kind of depends on the look you want, whether you want it real nice and filled in or you want it a little bit lighter. Again, the ladies at Just Another Button Company did a little pin mini for me to stick in the top there. I just love it. I have to tell you something about this. I feel like I'm accepting an Oscar. I got a button named after me. This is called Cathy's Daisy. Okay, truth be told, Cathy's Daisy got named a couple years ago, but we never really kind of said anything about it. There was actually a pin set called Cathy's Flowers, I think it was called. But now they actually just went ahead and named that individual pin Cathy's Daisy. So thank you, ladies. I'm just, that's pretty cool. I love working with these gals. And then of course, some of the other buttons that are in here are from their hand-dyed collection. I do want to show you what else you get. Oh, okay, I gotta reach over to, okay, so this comes in your chart. So you've got a piece of the strawberry Woolfelt, 2 strips of 2 different colors of green, your pre-cut flowers, and then your some hand-dyed buttons. You get 6 of the hand-dyed yellow buttons. You get 4 of the little hand-dyed red star buttons, 1 red heart, and then you get this really fun. Sorry guys, the lighting's really kind of messing with me this morning here in the studio, so I don't mean to keep disappearing on you, but okay, this is actually a Tammy Tutterow charm, and you can see it says handmade. It's got that quilty motif, and you get that in there as well, and I just tucked that in. You'll notice just kind of right down there, just to give it, I don't know, just to give it something. I just love it. It's just a pretty combination. And again, when it comes to Woolfelt, I've already challenged you with, like if you've done Sunshine on a Stem, you did the same thing with the leaves there. And many of you have done that. I didn't even chart, well, I didn't chart leaves. Well, I sort of charted leaves, but I didn't chart leaves on Sunshine on a Stem. I use Woolfelt in a lot of the block parties, or I use a lot of Woolfelt. I just like it. It's the inner scrapbooker in me or something. I don't know. But I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to readjust the camera, and we're going to talk about this part a little bit more. So that sort of begins the tutorial section. So really quick, I'll wrap up. So we had the 3 releases. They are at stores now. Yay! So remember, I keep a list on my website of shops that order from me. Some brick and mortar, some online, some brick and mortar have very great online presences too. Or just call them and say, hey, you know, and I'd like to get, if you have an auto programmer or anything like that. So chock full, woohoo! Get your pin minis, get your twill tape, then find your safe harbor. Thank you, Rita. It's gorgeous. I love it. And then thank you, Tammy. What I make with my hands, I give with my heart. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this one. So I'm going to stop this here, and then we're going to switch over to the other side where I got it set up for a little tutorial. Thanks. Okay, so I'm back with the tutorial section of this FlossTube video to talk a little bit more about this bottom section of the Give With My Heart chart with a little bit of the Woolfelt. So if you're a little bit nervous about trying it, but you like the look of it, this is pretty easy, and I hope you kind of take a few minutes to just talk or to watch as I talk you through it. So I'm going to tuck that up there, and all right, so what you're going to want to do, I talked about this a little bit. I'm going to show the chart briefly, and so remember I said this is what you stitch, the words, and then there's that line. So we're going to take option B, and you'll be just stitching. You can see on this there is actually a little cross stitching around that heart, and then there's a little bit of like kind of maybe grapevine-y cross stitching there, and that's what's charted in the chart, and you'll put that cross stitch in first before you do anything down here. All right, so we have a couple different components. We've got that red heart in the strawberry Woolfelt, and then you've got green, and I thought it needed a couple different shades of green for the Woolfelt just to give it some dimension. And then you've got your flowers, and then you've got an assortment of fun little buttons. So you're going to want to start at the bottom, the base. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut that heart. Now I have given you in the chart a shape right there, and that's your pattern for this particular heart. So you're going to want to cut a piece of it out of your you're going to want to cut a heart out of this red, well, it's actually called the color strawberry Woolfelt. So we need to somehow, you know, get this onto here. And when you're working with Woolfelt, this is a pretty simple, pretty basic way to do it. I made this nice and dark because I want you to trace this onto something that if you don't already have this in your home, it's pretty easy to find in the grocery store, freezer paper. I've had this one, well, a long time, because you can see the box has been really a little, I don't know, messed up. But I keep it shoved in a drawer, and whenever I need it, I go, where is that freezer paper? So I grab a piece of freezer paper, rip a section off, and you'll notice there's a matte side and a shiny side. Okay, it's hard to see. A little bit of shine right there. So I'm going to put shiny side down onto my my heart, and you can kind of see, you can see it through there. That's why I made it nice and dark for you. And I'm going to make sure my pen's working, and I am going to trace around that heart. You can see what I did. I traced my heart there. So I'm going to cut this just a little bit smaller, grabbing my paper scissors. Okay, and I want it to go, I'm going to iron this actually onto, shiny side down, onto the Woolfelt. I don't want, it's not as bad as like say a fusible, but I still don't want any sticky residual on my, I have one of those lovely wool mats. I just love it. So I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller, but not on the lines. We'll do that here in a moment. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, as you can kind of see. I left a little margin out there. Okay, so I'm going to put it sticky side down onto the piece of red Woolfelt. And this is a true Woolfelt. It's about 70% wool, 30% rayon. So if you've got wool allergies, you probably should be okay. I don't know. But my iron's a little preheated. We're going to test it here though. And I'm just going to go over it. And you don't obviously have to do much, but you can see. And I think my iron is perpetually on the cotton setting. So there you go. But you can see I didn't put it on there for very long. All right. Then I'm going to take my scissors, and I am going to cut along that line. And I love this method because you can get such crisp lines. And you can see I'm cutting along the heart. There you go. So we got that on the one side, and we've got the red heart on the other. So I'm going to carefully peel this off. All right, and that's just a fun, quick little way to make a pattern. And then what I'll do here, because I've got the outline of the outline cross stitched, I'll lay this in there and make sure that it fits, because I want a little bit of the cross stitching to show outside the edges. I just like that. Again, it's just layers of texture. I just think that's fun. So once I determine that, yep, my heart's the right shape, oops, sorry, I'm going to attach it. Well, I've already got it attached there, so I can't demonstrate that. So I kind of got this hoop ready, and I sort of hand drew on there. Pretend that this is just muslin, pretend it's linen, and pretend that's cross stitch. Okay, this is the land of pretend today. So I'm going to pretend, yep, my heart's going to go right there. And that's where I want it. It's pretty small enough that you're going to be able to just, you can pin it if you want, but it's pretty small. And once you get a couple stitches in, it's gonna stay in place. So I used, grab my threads over here. Aren't these lovely? These are all the threads that these are all the colors that you're gonna get in your thread pack. So I was very smart today because I struggle threading a needle on camera. And I took my red thread, kind of a strawberry red color. It's just so nice and summery. And then I made a knot in the back side of it. I know as cross stitchers, we're not used to being able to make knots. So woohoo, yay, we can make a knot. So what I did is, you can kind of see, I held this down, and knots in that end, and I'm gonna come up behind. I'm gonna do kind of what I call like a faux applique stitch. You can do buttonhole, you can do applique, that kind of thing. So what I did, if you can see, I brought my needle up through the linen / muslin right next to the edge of the heart. All right, not through the heart, but next to the edge of the heart. I'll bring my needle all the way up, and then I'm going to go about, I like to do about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to go down through. Now I'm going down into the heart, the Woolfelt heart, and then back through to the linen. And I'm just making a straight stitch, which is perpendicular to the edge of the Woolfelt heart. Then I tend to really like my stitches equidistant, 1/4 inch equidistant, and also 1/4 inch into the heart, the matter of the fabric of the heart. So now I'm ready to bring my needle up again. I'm actually gonna work down, because I'm a righty, I'm gonna work down here to the tip, work my way around. Again, I bring my needle up through the linen, just skim the edge without going through the Woolfelt heart, and down into the heart. Now, the thing you want to kind of be careful, because we've got a nice little shape. I like it when, I can't emphasize it enough, that my stitches, now I'm doing red on red, so it's very hard to see, but that my stitches run perpendicular to the edge. Not, I don't want them kind of wonky, unless you like wonky hearts, but I tend to like mine to be very straight. So you'll want to really be careful as you've got curves on the outer edge to sort of almost change the angle of that straightness, that being perpendicular with the edge. A little trick you can do is, okay, I'm going to bring my needle up. If you're not sure, okay, I'm going to bring my needle up again, skim the edge of the Woolfelt heart. Then I can take my thread and lay it over so that it's straight and it looks good next to the stitch before it, and then I know exactly where my needle needs to go down. And then I'm just going to work my way around the heart. And again, I like that there's, on my final piece, that there is a little bit of the cross stitching showing behind it. That gives you, that helps in a number of ways. It helps with a little bit of fudge factor in case, your heart's cut a little wonky or something like that. Your eye's not drawn to any white space coming through there. And I don't know, like I said, I like layers of texture, and that just gives an extra little layer of texture underneath your red heart. So go all the way around, and then you can knot off on the back, and your red heart is done. And that's the base of everything. I started with that. Now, let's think about this for a second though. When I went to go, well, I did go ahead and attach my red heart because I obviously knew that's where I need to start. Well, then it was like, well, how did I want to arrange the flowers? How do I want to arrange the leaves? I basically set this down, I can go ahead and get rid of this now. I set this down and I grabbed my flowers, and I'm just going to work on kind of one side of it, but I grabbed 3 of my flowers and I kind of just sort of played with them a little bit, you know, overlapped a little bit, that kind of thing. I knew I wanted them to sort of be clustered around the heart. I wanted them to be kind of on top of the heart a little bit, that kind of thing. And then I cut my leaves. So we've done this trick before. I've demonstrated this before. We trimmed your wool felt to be 1 inch big, so that if you cut across the wool felt with like a little curving motion, you should get the perfect width of leaf for your piece. So I'm gonna take my fabric scissors and I am literally just gonna freehand, I don't know, can you see that? Freehand a curved line, like whoop. Sound effects are necessary, and then go back the other way, whoop, just like that. And then I have a teeny but fun little leaf, okay? And then once I get a few of those cut, let me just cut a few more. There we go, whoop, and you should have enough. There's 4 inches in here. This should give you plenty for leaves. Let me cut a few lighter leaves out of the lighter green. I thought it was fun to give you options when it came to leaves. Use the picture. See how fast I'm just cutting those little leaves? Okay, let's pick it out of all the, pick my leaves up. Let's rake some leaves. You can, if you like the way mine's laid out, take a look at the cover and follow mine as an example of how I laid everything out. If you want to do it a little differently, go for it. You got plenty of options here. Like I said, I just kind of had fun laying them out. And then once I got them in an arrangement that I really liked, you know what I did? Gosh, we keep those cell phones on us all the time. I really, you know, I liked the arrangement that I did. So I took my phone and I snapped a quick picture, because then I'm going to have to take all of this off, and I start by putting what's on the bottom. So I'm going to figure, okay, this is the one that's on the bottom, so I'll start here. I actually then added my flowers on both sides. I kind of did so that they would, I wanted mine fairly symmetrical, so I did both sides as I went. So I went ahead and I attached my flowers first, and then I went and I attached my leaves. So once I know where I want my green leaves to go, we're going to attach these flowers. And let me tell you, man, this is really difficult. I'm kidding. We're going to take these hand-dyed buttons that you get. Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have put them so far over here. The only way that the flowers are attached to the linen is with a button right in the middle. You know how to attach a button? Then you got this done. I lost these buttons bounce if you don't watch them. So seriously, I'm going to grab my yellow thread again. It's in that color pack that you bought. And I'm going to attach that button. And of course, once I go on camera, it's always hard to do it. I'm going to attach the button. I made a knot. I'm going to attach that button. Come through the bottom of it. Let it settle down into the middle of my flower. Go back down the other side. And okay, so if you want to come up through the holes again and down, that's fine. You also don't have to. It's not like you're going to be fastening these buttons. They'll hold this way. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach then my white and then my yellow. And I just, you know, I just loved these colors. And I know you've got yellow and yellow, and I know we've got a white flower on the base, so that kind of blends in a little bit. But to make that stand out a little bit, that's a section where you might want to tuck some leaves under, like this. And then that helps the white flowers stand off of of course these would all have buttons on them by this time. That helps the white flower stand out a little bit. Okay, just have fun with this. Just kind of, you know, just, I don't know, let your inner designer come out. So how do we attach the leaves? Again, pretty simple process. I used the brown color thread, although you can certainly use the green color thread that comes with it. Now I will say, not all, if you're going to do the Woolfelt version, you won't use all of the colors in the cross stitch portion. It's the cross stitch one where you use all the colors, but we just felt like these made such a lovely palette that we wanted to fill out the palette with everything. So I, just like on my Sunshine on a Stem chart, okay, I threaded up with brown, and once I had this in place, I am just going to do a running stitch. Again, I put a knot on the back, so when I come through, the knots underneath, because we'll be putting some batting. When I went to go lace it, I put some batting under there, and so normally the reason why we don't knot when we cross stitch is we don't want the little bumps to show through. Well, with this, we have something over top of it that sort of masks any bumps that might happen. So I am just going to do a simple little over under stitch right down the center of the leaf to give it like kind of a center vein. Now you can go off and do the side veins as well, but quite frankly, these leaves are so small that they just really need to have that center one. And, you know, and probably 3 good over under stitches, you can kind of see, sorry, I got threads on the back I'm running into. I didn't clean up everything on the back like I normally do. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Just have fun. This, you know, once you get used to like, oh my gosh, we don't have holes to come up, we don't have holes to go down, we can freehand this. It's a little bit of power that kind of gets a little heady there. So, so anyway, so I don't know if you can see, but I just did an over under stitch right down the middle of the one leaf. Hopefully you can see that. But you can also understand through my explanation. So, you know, just kind of tack your leaves into place. And then I added the other buttons. And I did, again, I kind of did place actually all of the buttons, and then I snapped my picture of it so I knew how I wanted it to be laid out. And then attach your fun little red buttons there. I got little stars. I got another little heart here. And then I tacked that little charm in last, and I kind of tucked it up under the flowers. There's a hole at the top, just kind of go through it with some white thread, and then to cover that up I did a little bit of baker's twine. I did not include that in the thread pack, my apologies there. I just felt like maybe not everybody would want that, and you could use a little ribbon, or if you're into this kind of thing, chances are you probably have some baker's twine handy. Just make a little bow and tack that into place as well. So start with the base, kind of faux applique your, make your pattern, cut it out with the freezer paper, attach it in there, then lay out how you want everything. The buttons just get attached with the flowers just get attached with a button. The leaves just get attached with a running stitch, and then add your buttons like you normally would, and then tuck that in, and then you're good to go. You're good to finish. This is an 11 by 14 frame, and I did that where, excuse me, I covered this with a mat board with batting and some pretty coordinating fabric. I love the fabric. I thought it really just kind of went well with the piece, and I'm going to hold it here. And I just think it's a fun way to try something new in your cross stitch. It just makes it a very unique piece, and give it a try. Now, that being said, you can, because you're getting all of this, if you choose to go the route with the with the just cross stitch, you can do a couple of things to embellish it if you want to give it a little bit of dimension, but maybe you're not into as much dimension as all that. Well, then what you can do is you can add a couple of the buttons for centers. You can add your little asterisk or your little star buttons or your heart button or that charm. Put it in the middle of your, I don't know where it went to here. I had one here. But put that in the middle of your heart and put a little bow on that. So there's ways you can kind of zhuzh this up with some of the accessories that you get. Now, if you don't use any of those accessories, hold on to them because they might come in handy either in your finishing or another project. They're great. They're great little fun accessories to have on hand, those buttons. So I think that probably will do it for now. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this little tutorial. I enjoy doing these for you, and hopefully it gets you over, you know, any concern you might have in trying something like this. And well, in the meantime, enjoy the stitch. We'll see you next time. Bye.